or Mayor Rumbaugh, sorry.
Great. All right, Council, it is 3 o'clock, so I'm going to call the meeting to order. I will remind everyone to please dispose of any pecuniary interest at the appropriate time. And we will go straight to number 4A, which is the regular council minutes of December 7th, 2020. How does council want to deal with those minutes? Moved by Councillor White, seconded by Councillor Morris. Any questions or concerns from those minutes? Seeing none, all in favor? That is carried. And there's no business arising from the minutes, so we'll go down to scheduled meetings and events. We do have a proposed scheduling of the following meetings. Special council meeting on Thursday, January 14th at 5:30 for discussion on waste management items, and a special development committee meeting on Tuesday, January 19th at 10:30 for discussion on 2021 planned and development priorities. Can we have one motion for that?
Just before you do, on the second part, I guess it's the actual motion. It says the 4th of January. It's just a typo, I think.
Thank you, Councillor Morris. Noted. We'll make that correction should it be approved.
Okay. So moved by Councillor Morris. Thank you for that correction. And seconded by Councillor Westgate. All in favor? That is carried. Good afternoon, Councillor Mitchell. Glad to see you.
Afternoon.
We are just getting started. So we're going to go down to councillor commitments. Does anyone have anything to add to that calendar?
Can't go anywhere.
Can't go too far. So just let Amanda or Heather know if you need to make any additions there, and we will go around for councillors' items. We're going to start with Councillor White today. Nothing today.
Nope.
Councillor Morris.
Nothing at all.
Councillor Westgate.
Nothing.
And Councillor Mitchell.
Nope, nothing for me.
Oh, there's not a lot going on in Warwick Township right now. The only thing I had on my list was that I wanted to thank Councillor Morris for coming and helping me to give out the Senior of the Year award to Marianne Kundick. It was a great surprise for her. She's a very humble person, but very well deserved. And it was great that we were able to do that in 2020. Even though it wasn't the way we would like to do it, it was at least given out, and we appreciate everything she does for our community. So we are going to go on to staff items, 8A, which is a verbal update from Amanda on delegation requests for the upcoming Roma conference.
Thank you, Mayor Rumbaugh. I just wanted to confirm with council once again that we have submitted 4 delegation requests at the upcoming Roma conference for the end of January. One with the Ministry of Business and Consumer Services on changes to cemetery care and maintenance accounts. One with the Ministry of Finance on our OMPF funding, and that one's submitted jointly with 2 other municipalities. One with the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change on the right to say legislation and applicability to landfill expansion. I will note that I have heard word that that delegation was approved, so we will be having that meeting at the conference, well, electronically at the conference. And the 4th delegation request was to OMAFRA, so Agricultural and Rural Affairs, on municipal drains legislation and CN Rail.
Thank you, Amanda. And I believe those those are closed now, but we do have the ability to do delegations during Good Roads as well. And I believe that has opened up. So if anyone thinks of anything, then let Amanda know. And we are going to skip down from delegations. Our delegations start at 3:30. So we're going to go over those for now and go to 10A, which is the accounts and the GL report. Trevor, do you have any comments about the GL report today?
Late Friday afternoon, we got the December numbers for waste management. They came in at 1.335 metric tons, which translates to 3.95 million. So that's still a change.
Okay,
So
Any
that's
questions?
very close to what the most they can get, right? 3.4. So we lost very little.
oh, you're muted, Trevor.
We lost very little in the end. In September, they were predicting they'd only be at 1.1. So they had a very good fourth quarter.
An unexpected one, so. Okay, any other questions about that? Seeing none, we need a motion to receive and file that report, moved by Councillor Mitchell, seconded by Councillor Westgate. All in favor? That is carried. We are going to go to non-action correspondence. There's quite a good list here. Does council have anything that you want to highlight from the non-action correspondence today? Okay, we need a motion to receive and file the remainder of that correspondence. Oh,
The
Councillor Westgate.
Lambton water area system, we are submitting something there, are we?
Do you want to speak to that, Andrew? I believe that's part of the study that we've already approved.
What number is it? Just so I can follow. Oh, right here. Notes.
Lambton area 01-12.
Oh, yes. Yeah. This is just part of the process. This is the information, the public information gathering session. All part of the master plan update.
And on 146, should we support that? It's the insurance one about our municipal insurances getting out of hand.
That would be a good idea, I think.
Yeah, probably.
I didn't even see that. Thank you, Councillor Westgate, for highlighting that one. So you'd like to make a motion that we support that
Yes.
resolution? Okay, and Councillor Morris, were you seconding that?
Yes, I will.
Okay. Questions or comments about that? All in favor? That is carried. Anything else from the non-action? All right, then we need a motion to receive and file the remainder. Moved by Councillor Mitchell, seconded by Councillor Westgate. All in favor? That is carried, and we will go down to the action correspondence. And I'm just going to go through those quickly. The first one was the Municipality of Southwest Middlesex resolution regarding drainage matters on CN Railway lands. Councillor White.
I think we should support that.
Yes.
Okay. And that's seconded by Councillor Morris then?
Yes. The next one I think is just that they supported it too.
Yeah.
I believe so. All right, so all in favor of supporting that resolution? That's carried. And so we'll skip down to the Debbie France current cannabis regime and federal cannabis petition deadline, which that is on the action correspondence. Is there an action for that? Or is that for information?
Mayor Rundas, it looked well. The correspondence itself asks specifically for consideration for supporting and endorsing it in circulation, so that's why it's included as action correspondence.
Okay. And so since council doesn't seem too keen on taking any action towards that, we will ask for a motion to receive and file the remainder of the correspondence. Moved by Councillor Mitchell, seconded by Councillor Morris. All in favor? That is carried. Okay, we will go to 13A, which is staff reports. And we're going to start with the current municipal service levels and COVID-19 impacts. Any questions or comments for Amanda on that report? once again, it's so good to be able to see that outlined and highlighted what has changed since the last council meeting. It's just a good update on what all is happening in the municipality due to COVID. So we really appreciate that report. And we just need a motion, I suppose, to receive and file that. Moved by Councillor Westgate, seconded by Councillor White, all in favor. That is carried. We will go to the annual occupational health and safety policy. I believe that's just an annual reminder, moved by Councillor White, seconded by Councillor Morris. All in favor? That's carried. And we have proposed newsletter content. Looks like a good amount of content for the newsletter this time around. Does anybody have any additions that they'd like to add to that?
When is this going out about?
I believe February, isn't it, Amanda?
Yep, our plan typically is, yes, it'll be February, mid to late February.
Okay. So we need a motion to receive and file that report. Moved by Councillor Mitchell, seconded by Councillor Westgate, all in favor. That is carried. We will go to updated bylaws from Municipal Enforcement Unit. So there were some new bylaws that were highlighted in that, and there is a recommendation attached to that report. Councillor Morris, are you moving that?
No, I'd like to discuss it a little bit.
Okay.
Part of the, I think it's amended schedules, if I get this up on my computer right. It shows the no parking on Confederation line on the west side.
I believe it's on both sides.
No, but it's on, I know it's on Todd's, or what would that be, the south side.
Oh, on Confederation line. I was thinking now.
I just, they will, somebody will take challenge it if we don't have it right.
So the bylaws intended, if I may, Councillor Morris, to be the west side of Confederation line on the west side of Nauvoo Road on both sides of the road. If we need to amend that to be a little clearer, we can do so.
West side.
It's on the west side of Confederation line
It's a
From
west.
Nauvoo.
or Nauvoo Road.
Yeah, but I think it should say the side, it should say south.
It should say north and south side. So it
Oh, are
should
both
be-
sides no parking?
Yes.
Both
Yeah.
sides are no parking, but she's saying it's on the west side, not on the east side.
Yeah, I know, but it says
Nauvoo
from
Road.
Nauvoo Road to Warwick Street. That's pretty self-explanatory. It doesn't say anything about Centennial Ave. I just, if it's all right, we don't get challenged, I'm fine.
Well, similar to you, Councillor Morris, when I first read the proposed amendments, I also had the same question. So now that we've received the same question twice, I actually think we should amend it to be a little more specific. So the west side of Confederation line from Nauvoo Road on both sides of the street, both the north and the west side, from
Both north
Nauvoo
and south.
to Warwick. Yes, thank you, north and south. So we can
I'm not
make that
saying I
amendment.
agree with the parking, but I think the bylaw should be clear.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification. Any other comments about the report?
Why is it $50 and the rest of them are only 40?
In the area around Confederation line and Nauvoo
Yeah.
Road.
Why the different
because-
price?
So previously, based on continued parking concerns at that intersection, council had approved an amendment to our set fine bylaw and our parking bylaw to increase the ticket price at that location. So that was previously approved. So it's not actually amendment in this bylaw, it's just carried forward from our former bylaw.
Okay.
I believe it was because it poses a safety issue.
Yes, and it was also the volume, I think, of infractions and the road safety considerations.
Okay.
Yeah, the other thing, when I read the bylaw, it said about 6 meters from a crosswalk about parking. Maybe somebody else can think a little better, but the new crosswalk we put in, is there a no parking sign there on the post office side? That's 66 meters from the crosswalk? I was thinking I parked almost up to the crosswalk at, where the cement curves the last time, but I could be wrong. Maybe I parked in the no parking zone. Does anybody remember?
There's a no parking sign there, but I'm not sure it's 18 feet away or 6 meters
Yeah.
away, 20 feet away.
Maybe we should find out for
It'd be
sure.
close.
Okay, just when they redid the crosswalk, I don't know if they changed the signs or if the signs were all right where they were.
We can take that direction, Councillor Morris, to
Thank
have
you.
a look at the signage at the crosswalk.
Okay, anything else? All right, do we have a mover and a seconder for the recommendation? Moved by Councillor Mitchell, seconded by Councillor White. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you, Council. We will go down to the review of public appointees to committees and boards. And they're looking, and our staff is looking for council direction on this, but there is a recommendation. How does council want to deal with that? Councillor Westgate?
We still have Rod Glenn on there in the Warwick Historical and Heritage Committee.
Yep. That was caught earlier before the meeting
Oh.
started.
Okay.
And I believe it was determined that that committee has not met ever. And as long as this COVID-19 continues, they won't be meeting until all of this
We're
dies down.
We're going to take Rod's name off.
Yes,
Okay.
we appreciate all of the service that Rod has done for our township for sure. Any other comments about that? Questions?
So what, are you looking for a recommendation to keep the committees as is? Or like, I kind of read that into it, that you were looking for that.
Great question, Councillor
Amanda?
Morris. I think, well, we're looking for council direction. One, we'd like to review our policy and make it more formalized so that every 2 years we don't come to council in this kind of method that we have an established policy that's approved. So that's one deliverable from this review that we'd like to do. The other is, yes, we are seeking council's direction. We did talk as a clerk's department about what our preference would be, and it ultimately the decision is up to council, obviously, because we do appoint for a 2-year term. When we started thinking about the incumbents on our current committees, though, some of the things they've really been working towards are coming up. I think particularly of the Parks and Recreation Committee, and the fact that we are embarking on a new build soon, and that we also have had some changeover in the Committee of Adjustment just based on regular changes. So I think if asked, yes, I think our preference would be to ask the current incumbents, should they wish to continue, and if they do, to recommend their reappointment, because all of our committee members are very engaged and have served as well. But I do think there needs to be a longer term balance between balancing, continued service and opportunity for the public, which is why we propose that policy for the future. But council can choose either way with our current incumbents.
Well, if we
Jerry,
could-
or sorry, Councillor Westgate.
I think as long as there's no problem with any of the committees, that we should just go on and ask them if they want to still be on the committee, and maybe look at next term changing to 4 years.
Okay.
I agree.
All right, so is that good for the recommendation that you are looking for, Amanda?
If that was council's preference, Mayor Rumbas, I would amend the proposed resolution to first start with a note that says that the CAO clerk be directed to contact current public appointments to determine interest in continuing and advertise for any remaining vacant positions for the 2-year term, and that we would be directed to prepare a policy as it reads now.
Okay. So that was moved by Councillor Westgate and seconded by Councillor Morris. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. We will go down to the proposed legislation changes to cemetery care and maintenance accounts. Any questions or comments about that report? Councillor White.
Finally, something has changed. Yeah, no, we went 3 times to the prior governments, and it's good to see that they're finally putting something out there to allow some adjustments. Yep.
Yeah.
It's good.
So these delegations, although they do take time, it does make a difference.
Yeah. No. It's good.
Fantastic. So, Councillor Morris, did you want to move?
Just a couple comments from the report. Amanda, you mentioned that we were having another cemetery that has been requested for us to take over as of today.
We've received an informal request from one cemetery, the one located in Warwick Village.
Nothing
right
on
on
paper yet.
Nothing on paper yet, no, but
Okay,
we've
good.
received an informal request.
The only other comment I had, Mayor, was I'd like to see the remain the separation for the monument account to make sure that that interest does go for monument repairs. I have a feeling it'll all get thrown into general and it'll be used for covering the lawn maintenance. And that is not what the purpose of that is. It's meant for the monuments. And this Invest One will actually give us a little bit to work with, which would be nice.
Mm-hmm.
I have no other comments.
Okay. I did notice, just a note for the cemetery board, that the cemetery along Egremont Road has gotten fixed and looks so much better and so much safer. So good job there. I know I did that tour a couple of years ago and that cemetery needed a lot of work. The monuments were somewhat dangerous.
Yeah, I think they were there in November.
Yeah, it was the fall.
Yeah.
I witnessed them in there, like saw it from my house that they were working there, so it was good. Yep.
There's one old one to fix in Watford Cemetery too, and I was there the other day, and I honestly can't say if it's fixed yet or not, but it's an older one. Like, yes, sorry.
Well, just a question along your line, kind of in line with Wayne. With the investment account, does that allow us to do, and maybe Trevor can answer this, better budgeting in the future so that we do have a fund that we can do repairs, have a pool of funds on an annual basis that we can budget on to repair monuments?
Trevor, do you want to address that?
I think it's too early to say. I hope so.
Okay.
There's a good separation of funds right now. It's just being able to get more latitude with those funds.
Yeah.
And if I can move it into a higher earning vehicle, then we'll be fine. If not, we're going to still be stuck. It's going to be still in the bank level. And I'm waiting on clarity on that.
Okay. Sounds good.
So,
And I do just want to, if I can, clarify, Mayor Rembitz, that at this time, the one investment account is a great suggestion that our finance department actually spearheaded previously at our last delegation with the ministry. And we think it's a great solution to some of the challenges with financing cemeteries, but it is not formally considered at this time by the ministry. So in our comments, should the resolution be approved, we would submit that back once again as a potential solution for them to consider.
Good.
And is this what the delegation is addressing, Amanda?
Yes, thanks.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we do have a recommendation on that staff report. We need a mover and a seconder for that. Moved by Councillor Morris, seconded by Councillor White. Any questions or concerns? All in favor? That is carried. We have about 5 minutes, so we are going to move on to G, which is the Lambton Group Policing Services Board additional funding request. Just so council is aware, the mayors have had a somewhat informal meeting offline about this, and they are looking at trying to get more information as to where the money is coming from, and also have gone to the provincial governments to see if they can counterbalance some of the additional funds required. So, Councillor Morris?
Well, if I read the report right, are they not saying they need this 175,000 for a building in Corunna, like the yearly maintenance or something, or what? Like, that seems like a lot of money.
Well, that's what the mayor's group thought as well. And so they have asked the board to put together a report really outlining where the funding is coming from. Like why they need this extra funding. Amanda, can you clarify that at all?
I can, but Trevor actually prepared the
Oh,
report.
thank
so I
you,
will,
Trevor. Can you
I will
clarify?
defer to Trevor.
Thank you.
It's for general operational expenses at that facility and also the rent. In the past, they have said that between police checks and other services they provided, they generated enough revenue. However, with the change in focus and the fact that the revenue now goes back to offset the higher tier costs, even though it says that it comes back to us, it doesn't come back to us. It just lowers other expenditures. It just means that they have less money at their disposal. So essentially, you're robbing from Peter to pay Paul, in my opinion.
Okay, any other questions from council?
Well, some of the other councils have already made a decision. Can we table this until the mayors have a little more chance? Or do we need a decision today?
The reason why it's presented today is I'd like to put something in the budget as a placeholder. That's all. And we won't have another meeting or an opportunity before that point in time. I don't care if I put in a no amount, but at least I have an explained variance and you understand what the nature of the variance is. Or I can go high and then we have a settlement lower, or I can go where I think you should go, because I don't think at the end of the day you're going to have much say in it, and that is 15,000 a month.
Which percent was that, Trevor?
Or 15,000 for the
For the
Pardon me?
year?
The year.
yeah, 15,000 per month for everyone, which is 180 for the year.
Right.
Our portion of it's going to be 12,000.
12,163.80. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
I'll
Okay.
move the recommendation because it covers that amount, and if we get a credit to our budget, well, hopefully good. So,
Okay, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Mitchell. Any other questions or comments on this report? All in
How
favor?
did they figure on
Oh, sorry.
on a share? Like, is that by population?
I believe it is by household, isn't it, Trevor? Yeah.
Well, I hope our amount goes up because our population is gonna grow.
Yeah, it should
It
go.
is gonna grow.
As population growth.
Okay, all in favor? That is carried. We are going to go up to our delegation since it is 3:29. And I'm just going to take a second to scroll up here. We are starting with a Court of Revisions meeting for the hall drain. I believe we need a motion that Warwick Township Council proceed into the Court of Revisions for the Hall Drain 2020 bylaw number 114 of 2020. And that is moved by Councillor Morris, seconded by Councillor Westgate. All in favor? And do we have someone from Spreets here? joining us? No? Okay. Have any written appeals been received?
No.
Okay. Does anyone present have any verbal appeals? I'm assuming since we don't have anyone here present that we don't. Since there are no appeals filed, the following resolution is to be passed, that the Court of Revision for the Hall Drain 2020 bylaw number 114 of 2020 be closed without changes to the report, and that we go back into open session, open council. Moved by Councillor White, seconded by Councillor Mitchell. All in favor? That is carried. And we have, is it Mary Valles? Mary Valles from Healthy Watersheds Manager from Sable Bayfield Conservation Authority, here to give a presentation on monitoring for healthy watersheds. So we will give her a minute to get here since the first delegation went fairly quickly. Should we wait until 3:35, do you think, Amanda?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All righty. Let's see. We have the biannual fire report. I bet you we could do that in less than 5 minutes. Any questions or comments on that report? Councillor Morris?
I make a motion to accept.
Thank you. And seconded by Councillor Mitchell. All in favor? That is carried. There is a report here on the update on revisions to the official plan project timeline. Do you think we can do that in 3 minutes?
No.
Okay, good to know. So maybe we'll hold on to that.
Is that J?
That is I.
Oh, yeah, then I'm no problem with that.
That's just the official plan timeline. So giving an idea of where we're at, I believe it is taking a little bit longer than originally planned, but we were not planning for COVID. So, and that's just a recommendation to receive and file that report. Moved by Councillor White and seconded by Councillor Westgate. Had his hand up. No, all in favor. That is carried. All right, we have 2 minutes. We are going to go back up to Mary and give Amanda a few minutes to get her set up.
There we are. Mayor Rundos, I believe Mary is here. There she is.
Hi, Mary. How are you?
Good, thank you. Can everybody hear me okay?
We can. Thank you for joining us today.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Do you want me to share my screen so that you can see my presentation, or are you going to, okay, yep, all right, I'll do that.
There we are. Mayor Rundos, I believe Mary is here. There she is.
Hi, Mary. How are you?
Good,
Okay.
thank you. Good, thank you. Can everybody hear me okay?
We can. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Mary,
I believe
Mary,
Mary.
I think you're still live streaming the YouTube meeting. If you could just pause that, I think we're getting the echo of welcoming you. Thank you.
I wondered that. I was like, ooh, a little bit of Groundhog Day
Little
here.
delay. Yeah.
Okay, Mary, since we've got those technical glitches out of the way, I'm going to turn the meeting over to you. And
I think you're.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. I turned off my video.
Perfect.
And now I'll share my screen.
Perfect.
Thanks. I just wanted to pay attention to your meeting. It was very interesting and you're running a great show. So thank you. I'll start at the top here. And slideshow. Okay, so everybody can see that and me. So first of all, I just want to thank Council very much for having me speak to your municipality today. I have wanting to present some of our 2020 reports. I presented some of this to the Asaba Bayfield Board of Directors in July, and it was at that time that they suggested that I approach member municipalities to just highlight some of the projects that the Healthy Watersheds work on. And of course, in 2020, this being such an atypical year, a lot of these reports that I'll present were due in between March and June 2020. So we found ourselves all at home working away at all these reports. So just for starters, at the Asaba Bayfield, we have a Healthy Watersheds department, and really this is in response to the community's local community's interest in environmental issues. Starting around 2000, we developed a Healthy Watersheds program, and that was really to support the community and then to do some biomonitoring and some monitoring. And you can see here, this is part of our watershed management strategy where we do educate, but we implement projects and we monitor. And really we want to inform the community on the effectiveness of the different practices that they are taking to improve the local environment. So this here, I'm not sure if you can all see this with the video screen here, but essentially this is an outline of the Asaba and Bayfield watershed. So the Bayfield going out at Bayfield, of course, and the Asaba going out at Port Franks, with Park Hill Creek going out at Grand Bend. And obviously your municipality is mostly not in our watershed, but I still was very grateful for the opportunity to come and speak to you about the kinds of work that is being done in watersheds around the area, and including your own. I know I do work with the St. Clair region, which is where most of your area would be in that watershed jurisdiction. And of course, that's mostly the Sydenham River, but you might have a little bit of watershed area going out to Lake Huron directly, which of course we have as well with some of our shoreline tributaries. So just this is an overview of the reports. I'm not going to present all 12 reports today, and you'll be glad of that. I did do that with the board of directors, and they were, well, it's better if I just pick a few highlights that would be relevant, let's just say. The important piece here with the Healthy Watersheds program is that it really does depend on community interest and investment in their time and energy with some of these issues. And so, of course, you can think that along the lakeshore we have a lot of interest, but actually even within the whole watershed, there's people interested in a lot of different biological and water quality issues. And so we take that interest and we work with the community to make funding proposals. And so essentially every dollar that is provided by the municipalities, we're able to leverage it at least 3 times for local improvements. And today I'm just going to talk a little bit about a couple of projects that we've been working on over the last couple of years that are actually also relevant to your area. So the first one are the freshwater mussels that are in the Asaba River. And I know you also have a very good populations of freshwater mussels in your Sydenham River. And I just, this here is, I'm just gonna tell you a little bit about freshwater mussels and why you should care. They are a species at risk, and they're not only at risk in Ontario, but across all of North America. They are probably one of the more endangered species in the planet, these freshwater animals. And I think partly this is a result of how part of their reproductive strategy is. So they have this interesting part in their body that's called a foot, and they're able to change that foot to look like a little fish. And that little fish attracts, by wiggling around, attracts bigger fish, and the bigger fish swim by, and the mussel releases its larva onto the gills of that bigger fish. And this is a very important life history strategy for these mussels, because if you can imagine, if they just release their larva into a river, all of their larvae and all of their offspring would end up downstream in the lake, which is no good if you want to live in a river. So they use the fish to transport their little larvae around. And because they need such clear water, any kind of sediment or increased nutrients that would cause more algae or this kind of thing would reduce their success. So what I have here are 2 graphs that show a common mussel on the left side, the 3 ridge, and then a more rare species on the right side. And you can see in this graph that when we looked at these mussels over the period from 2006 to 2019, we see a pretty much normal distribution of the different age classes of those mussels. However, on the other graph, this is one of the more rare species, and you can see that really the numbers are not looking that great. They're showing we have you know, a bit of a lower numbers overall since 2006, and maybe not the same range of age classes that would be indicative of a strong population. We think this might be related to more sediment and potentially extreme flow conditions in the river over that period of time. So I'm just going to move on to another biological indicator, which are some of the fish and some of the work our staff are doing. What we find, we would like to have similar kinds of graphs for fish, because certainly that is, people have a lot more knowledge about fish, but really because there's different programs, we haven't done quite as good a job at tracking changes over time. But this last year, our biologists have really worked to standardize some of our methods to actually produce graphs like I showed you in the past. The other topic that I'm going to cover today is wetlands. And of course, in our developed landscapes, we have a very low amount of wetlands. We're at about 2% and maybe even lower in some areas. And originally, this area would have had around 20% wetlands. To try to have an increased number of wetlands in our landscapes, we can have different tools. We could use policy, we could just use communications, trying to do enhancing stewardship. And what we have found in the report that we submitted in 2020 was that we do have quite a few policies, but really we just need to beef up that stewardship ethic to encourage some of the policies, but also to what we find is when we do enhance our outreach and communications around wetlands, there is quite a bit of community individual actions where they're willing to put wetlands or enhance their existing wetlands. So I'll just speak a little bit to that. This is some of the stewardship that is promoted for wetlands. When we are able to undertake some stewardship and outreach, we find that that begets more like a virtuous cycle. So for instance, in this one area, in our Nairn Creek watershed, we had a rather large wetland restoration project that occurred. And then since that time, we've had adjacent landowners contact us for managed forest tips and or further conservation practices. And we do think that with ongoing efforts to promote individual stewardship, we can move things along with the wetlands. So I've talked a little bit about the kinds of things we do from a monitoring perspective and reporting perspective, both at the water quality or biomonitoring angle, and also I guess the important piece again is this building the community awareness. So it's keeping the community engaged, helping folks figure out the best management practices for both agriculture and urban areas, doing the monitoring so that we can highlight some of those successes, and then the ongoing outreach and education. I just want to briefly mention that all conservation authorities do have a common approach to watershed reporting through the watershed report cards. And that's really just an effort to connect people with their backyard creek so they could better understand some of the conditions in their own area and work towards local improvements. And again, I just really wanted to take this opportunity to let folks know about some of the projects that we're working on in your local community. So thank you very much for your time, and I would answer any questions that you have.
Thank you so much, Mary. It's always good to see what our conservation authorities are up to. And does anybody have any questions? Now I can't see everybody with the shared screen, so perhaps we'll go back to unsharing our screen here so that.
Oh yeah, right. Okay, sorry about that.
That's okay. There we go. Does anybody have any questions for Mary? Okay, thank you very much, and for all that you do to help keep our rivers and lakes and wetlands clean and healthy,
Thanks.
and we will let you go for the day. Thank you
Okay,
for joining us.
Yeah, take care.
You too. All right, council, we have in about 5 minutes a zoning amendment application. And I believe that is a time-sensitive one as well, is it not, Amanda? Okay, so we are going to skip down once again to our staff reports. And I believe we were on the update of revisions to the official plan project timeline. And Councillor Morris, did you have a question or comment about that report?
Yeah, the second time I read it, there was a couple things I found. Now these numbers don't mean much. Under 5-2 and 7, it states industrial uses of agriculture, waste collection, and recycling. Can we please put some kind of comment in there? This does not include biosolids. I know what they mean by the waste plastic off the round bales and stuff like that. I got no problem. But I don't want some tribunal to read our official plan and say it doesn't say that. Is there
Okay,
some
that's,
actually put those words in there?
Amanda, is that possible? Or actually, Philip, do you have an answer to that?
We could put that in for sure. Would have to have a discussion with the Niagara Planning Group and say, hey, we would have to work out the exact wording, but we could definitely work something in.
It's
That's a
just
good
that,
catch, Councillor Morris. I think that's an
well,
important.
this document's going to be around, by the way. I read it 20, 25 years or something. I just don't trust some of the future decisions if we don't have it in there. I don't want them to bring it in and bag it in 10 years, for an example. So if we have it in there, I'm happy.
Just kind of covers all bases for sure.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments about that report? Amanda?
I just want to clarify, Councillor Morris, that was a requested amendment. Could you name the section again for us?
Oh, gee, sure, I'll try. The two that I found was 5-2 and number 7.
Thank you. And we'll take that direction for our planner to correspond with our consultant, Niagara Planning Group, on that matter.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Then we do need a motion to receive and file that report. Moved by Councillor White, seconded by Councillor Mitchell. All in favor? That is carried. 2 minutes. Can we do Parks and Rec in 2 minutes? Amanda and Teresa are both going, oh yeah, we can. Councillor White?
Yes, we can. Yep.
All right, did you want to move the recommendation?
I'll move the recommendation. Yep.
Do we have a seconder for that? Councillor Morris? Any questions or comments on that? I'm excited about that plan. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Good.
All right, all in favor? That is carried. And the timing of that plan is perfect as well.
Mhm.
All right, council, we have 1 minute, so we're going to go back up to our delegation times. And do we have a person coming for a delegation for that, Amanda?
We do have the applicant, Sherry, just in the waiting room to attend. Should I
Okay.
can let her in now?
Absolutely, please. Hi, Sherry.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay.
Can't see you. If you're okay with that, then we can proceed.
Sorry, what was that?
I can hear you, but I can't see you.
Oh, okay. I'm just looking at the bottom. Okay, start video. I assume that's what I push. I'm not very
Yeah.
techie. I'm sorry. I've
That's
never used
okay,
Zoom.
no worries.
Okay, hold on one second. Okay, start video. Allow. Okay.
There
There we
you
go.
are.
Yikes.
Perfect.
There we go. Sorry about that.
No,
I
that's
do have to apologize. My little guy with Down syndrome has just awoken from his nap and he's not very happy. My son is holding him outside the door there. So, but I wanted to at least just be able to say like, thank you and for hearing this out and our request and apologize that I might not be able to stay for the whole thing here.
Oh, sure. I'm going to get right to it because I know what it's like to have that situation outside your door. So
Yes,
the next
I was like, I'm sorry.
okay, council. The next item on council's agenda is holding the public meeting with respect to an application to amend the zoning bylaw and council's consideration of a bylaw to amend Warwick's zoning bylaw 121 of 2012 on lands described as Plan 2, Part Lot 5, East George, Part Lot 5, West by Part, am I saying this right?
Yep.
Okay. Lots 15 to 18, North Meriden, RP 25R2827, Part 2, and part of Meriden Street, known locally as 6190 George Street in the Township of Warwick. The purpose of this bylaw is to rezone the lands from residential 4, R4, to a new site-specific residential 4-1, R41 zone. The purpose of this site-specific zone is to permit the construction of an accessory building unit within a detached accessory structure. Amanda, the method of giving public notice of the meeting was, and date of the notice was given.
Well, Mayor Rembach, the notice was given by regular mail as per the Planning Act, and my apologies to council. I actually do not have the date. The notice was sent. Yes, I do. It was sent on the 18th of December, 2020.
All right. And any person requiring further notice of the passing of the bylaw should give their name and full mailing address to the clerk before leaving the meeting. Any persons present who wish to make oral or written submissions should provide the clerk with their name and full mailing address. Also, any persons wishing to address the bylaw should ask their questions through the chair. That would be me. Proceed. The clerk will now read any written submissions.
Mayor Rembach, there was one submission from the St. Clair Region Conservation Authority, and we did append it to the council agenda as attachment to this agenda, and it is quite lengthy, so I won't read it. I will just read the summary that they've provided on the last page of page 3. And given their comments, the opinion of the SC of the Conservation Authority is that provided that written permission is obtained from the Conservation Authority, consistency with section 3.1 of the PPS can be demonstrated. Ontario Regulation 171/06 does apply to the subject site. A permit from the Conservation Authority will be required prior to any development taking place. Item 3 was consistency with section 2.1 of the PPS has been demonstrated, and item 4 was the subject site is located within an area that is subject to the policies contained in the source protection plan. I'll leave that at rest for council review.
Okay, thank you. And we will now hear from Philip Rowe. How do you say your last name, Philip?
Exactly like it's spelled, Ruff.
Ruff. Philip Ruff. Thank you. We'll now hear from Philip Ruff, our planner, on this report.
Okay, thank you. So the purpose of this rezoning is to permit an accessory dwelling unit or second dwelling unit within a detached accessory building on the property. So the applicant wants to convert a portion of the existing garage into a dwelling unit. In terms of the discussion, so under the PPS, the provincial policy statements, the statements call for residential intensification. So it's pretty much one of their recommendations is conversion or expansion of existing residential buildings to create new residential units or accommodation, including accessory apartments, additional residential units, rooming houses, and other housing options. So the additional residential units include things such as granny flats, garden suites. So you have a garage in your backyard, put a suite in there. Laneway housing, there's different terms for it. So they grouped everything under an additional residential unit. So in terms of the Planning Act, there's been a bit of a change to the Planning Act. So the Planning Act directs the official plans and municipalities to authorize the use of additional residential units. When this policy originally came out in the Planning Act, it was a may. Municipalities may have it. It's since been switched to a shall, so they have to have some sort of provisions to permit it. So this is actually a proposal coming up, or a change coming up in the official plan project, that there will be some policies in there for the consideration. So it's not going to be mandatory. There's just provisions to allow the considerations for it. Like the zoning bylaw still has to be changed, even though the official plan would say it is possible, they still have to go through a zoning change. So the intent of the Planning Act is to encourage the development of additional units within the permitted primary housing stock. Pretty much an additional unit provides for the use of 2 residential units in a detached house, which we currently allow, as well as the use of residential unit in building located out around property. So in a garage, typically a detached accessory structure, which is the purpose of this application. And my report's going slow. So the definition suggests you can, for a dwelling unit, suggests you can get a dwelling unit in an accessory building, but then there's a section currently in the bylaw that says an accessory building cannot be used for human occupation unless permitted elsewhere in the bylaw. So the purpose of this rezoning is to provide an exception to that section. Yeah, so the definition of second dwelling unit, it says, yeah, may be used within an accessory structure. The correspondence received from the Conservation Authority, I can cover that briefly. They have no concerns with the rezoning. Their concerns are more so tied into the use of the building for residential purposes in terms of flooding issues and water damage. The property is currently located within a floodplain, so any conversion to a residential use would require some sort of floodproofing to be done to the building to mitigate potential flood in the area. Since it's going to be used for human occupation, you'd require the floodproofing. If it was just used for storage or vehicle use, that floodproofing isn't required. But since you have people living in there, that's why they need a permit from the Conservation Authority. The proposed, yeah, so this rezoning is consistent with the direction that the provincial policy statements and the Planning Act. So it was actually drafted to align with the change in Planning Act. So that's pretty much a summary of my report.
All right, Sherry, sorry about this. We do have to.
That's okay. That's okay.
We will now hear from you. I'm assuming that you're in favor of this, and then if there's any presentations opposed, which I don't see any. So if you'd like to address council and just kind of explain what your plan is.
Oh, okay. I submitted my letter and like a little drop of like what we were hoping to have as the granny suite. I'm sorry. So I hope that that's fairly self-explanatory. I don't know. I don't understand all the details with that flooding thing, etc. I'm not sure. I'm hoping that that will just be something, the permits and stuff that we'll be able to go through and do everything appropriately and how we're supposed to. We actually refinanced our house so that we could do this, to put this suite in for my husband's father. So yeah, this is just, we probably should have started this a lot earlier, but we're here now and we just really appreciate you guys considering this request. So
Any questions for either the planner or for Sherry?
Philip would be awesome, also really awesome at answering anything too. My little guy is actually escalating. I feel so bad. Please forgive me.
No. It's okay.
Is it possible for Philip to direct, to direct those questions to him? And I'm coming, and he's great. He's been fantastic for us. Thank you so much, Mayor, and I appreciate everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. Best of luck with your father-in-law. Councillor Morris, do you have any questions? You're muted, just so you know.
I had one call on this from a resident of Warwick Village, mostly for trying to explain what it meant. So when I told them about the letter we got, they were 100% in favor of it. I went out there, I was walking the trails on George Street out to Conservation Area on Saturday, and I walked by the property. And as far as the St. Clair Conservation Area goes, they didn't pound salt. Because if that place gets flooded, Warwick's underwater.
Okay.
I have 100% in favor.
Okay, perfect. Any other questions or comments? All right, the public meeting is now concluded. Council has 15 days from the meeting to decide whether or not to pass this bylaw. Council's decision will be mailed to those who have requested a copy. Any persons or agencies may appeal at the local planning appeal tribunal in respect to the bylaw by filing with the clerk of the Township of Warwick not later than 20 days after the day that written notice was given. A notice appeal must set out the objection to the bylaw and the reasons in support of the objection, plus the applicable fee to the LPAT. Thanks everyone for attending. So Amanda, is the bylaw in our bylaws today? Okay.
Yes, so the bylaw is included. So should council wish to approve this amendment, they can approve all the bylaws or the relevant bylaw at the end of your meeting.
Okay, perfect. If council doesn't have any other questions or concerns on that, then we will move on. And I would say if we could inform Sherry of the decision tomorrow, that would be great. She's wonderful. She really is such a wonderful person. And I love that she's doing what she is for her father-in-law. We are going down to, we did K, we're on L, capital fundraising campaign progress report. So that is a report to council just to give an update. And there's a recommendation that Warwick approves the campaign feasibility study progress report as presented. Any questions or comments on that? We need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Morris. Seconded by Councillor Mitchell. All in favor? That is carried. I'm excited about that one too. We have a fun year ahead, Council. And then the construction progress report. Any questions or comments on that report? We need a mover and a seconder for that recommendation. Councillor Mitchell and Councillor White, all in favor. That is carried. We have no committee or other minutes, so we'll go on to new business. There is a petition for drainage works of the Old Redmond Drain Extension 2021. We need a mover and a seconder to approve that. Moved by Councillor Morris, seconded by Councillor Mitchell. Questions or comments? All in favor? That is carried. We have no in-camera session today, so we are going to move on to bylaws. Madam Clerk.
Thank you. I was a bit off also. So, moved a first and second time that bylaws 1 to 9 of 2021 be read a first and second time.
Moved by Councillor Westgate, seconded by Councillor White. All in favor? That is carried.
That bylaws 1 to 9, nope, that bylaws 114 of 2020 and 1 to 9 of 2021 be read a third time and finally passed.
Moved by Councillor Morris, seconded by Councillor Mitchell. All in favor? That is carried. Council, just over an hour. Not bad for 2021, the first meeting. All right, we just need a motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Morris, seconded by Councillor White. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you all.